What's up, guys? How's it going? Shane here again from the Twin Sons podcast. So today I'm actually going to be competing in the seasonal tournament that Riot is hosting on the NA server. So very excited to be jumping into that. So this video here, I'm going to go over the lineup that I'm bringing in, the three decks, a little bit of the strategy, just a rough going over each of the decks. And actually, each of these three decks I've done previously a deck tech and gameplay video of. So I won't go too deep into each of the decks, but just highlight which three decks I'm bringing, and then shout out the videos that I made previously for gameplay options if you wanted to see some of those gameplay options. And I'll obviously put the deck codes in the description and the comments as well, and all that good stuff. As far as plans going forward for this channel and the content for this week here, personally, I am going to try to record. I'm not going to be streaming the tournament today, but I'm going to record each of the rounds in the games with no image of me or all my audio at all. So we'll just have no audio at all, and we'll probably throw over a nice little soundtrack or something like that. But it'll just be live gameplay of each of the rounds, from the ban phase, from the inspection phase, all that stuff. So there'll probably be 30, 40-minute videos of each of the rounds, and I'm going to try to put those all up on the channel so you can see all 5 rounds. Or if I, lose 3 games and drop right away, then you only see 3. But that's the plan as far as we go for the channel and what I want to do with the seasonal tournament coverage. And then, we'll see how it goes from there. For initial goal going in, I haven't been practicing a ton of tournament format. Like, I know there's a lot of players out there who really grind that. I'm really focused on content creation, so we do a ton of podcast episodes. We do YouTube videos, articles for Runeterra CCG, so we just bust out content as much as possible. But preliminary goal is really just to get 3 wins, get that card back. So I want the cosmetics. Obviously 5-0 would be great and all that stuff like that. It's a single elimination tournament. It's pretty tough tournament in general. So we're not expecting, obviously only 32 people out of 1,000 make it, and it's going to be a big cutoff there, and people are going to be upset with the format. But they're doing it every 2 months, and they're letting 1,000 people play, so it's pretty awesome. So I'm just excited to compete. So let's dive into what decks I'm bringing. So I'm bringing Fearsome, They Who Endure. I'm bringing Invoke with Atrocity, and I'm bringing Overwhelm, Noxus Freljord. Now, I went over all 3 of these decks, as well as a few other decks in the last week or so, but these are the 3 that I'm sticking with. So just to break down real quickly what I am bringing. So this is a Fearsome package deck. This is the most recent video I did. I called it Fearsome Endure. It's really just They Who Endure with the Fearsome package. It uses Elise, it uses Callista, all the same stuff. The Mist Wraiths, the Risen Mist, the Wraith Callers. Instead of normally they run 2 to 3 Harrowings to really get a huge Harrowing play to get a bunch of Myths back and ideally get some Skitterers back so they get a bunch of damage through. We're not going with that. We're only running 1 of those as it is a decent play. They don't work super well with They Who Endure because They Who Endure will count as a 1/1 for that, since its play effect is what gives it a stat buff. But instead, our win condition, we're trying to go with the Atrocity and They Who Endure play as opposed to just the Harrowing play. Now, this isn't a typical They Who Endure deck where the They Who Endure can get massive. Those 20/20 They Who Endures. You're not going to get that. You don't have that many bodies early. You have Elise making her extra spiders and the Mist Wraiths dying and ephemeral units with Stalking Shadows and 2 units with the Wraith Caller and etc. But you're not going to get a massive They Who Endure. Typically, by turn 7 to 8, you should have a 8/8 to like 12/12 They Who Endure, anywhere in there. That's plenty big enough. And if you don't have him that big because your units weren't dying, that probably means you were getting excess damage through with the Fearsome mechanic. So that's fine. You're going to get plenty of damage through, and then They Who Endure will just close out the game, even if he's not massive. And then you can use an Atrocity on, obviously, a They Who Endure or a large Mist Wraith, because those Mist Wraiths can get high up. I talked about matchups. I showed a little bit of gameplay in the previous video, so I'll stop there for this. We go to Invoke Atrocity. So I love the Invoke deck. It normally, it was mono Targon. I'm splashing 3 Shadow Isle cards, and it's 1 Ruination and 2 Atrocity, so you have some big board removal, and you have some game finishing power with Atrocity again. Obviously, everyone knows Atrocity is insane, so you see it in both of these decks so far, but the real reason it's insane in this deck is because of things that have Spell Shield, so like Aurelion Soul or any of the big Celestials that you craft or invoke. When they have Spell Shield and use Atrocity on that, it takes so much effort for your opponent to get around that. So it's a really huge game-winning mechanic. So this deck functions like the Targon, Mono Targon. It's a very situational deck. It's extremely flexible, probably the most flexible deck in the meta right now, because you just essentially are invoking different cards that you need in different situations against different matchups. And early, you're just playing the Daybreak Curve just to sustain a really strong board state. It's really good into Fearsomes. It's really good into Scouts, things like that. And then once you get to the mid-late game, that's when your choices of what you're invoking become extremely important. Extremely fun deck. Also a full gameplay video on that one as well. Last deck here is Darius Draven, so it's a decisive maneuver deck. It really punishes like Go Hard and even some ramp decks because you are just pushing damage through very fastly with lots of Overwhelm units. So the whole purpose of the deck is run a lot of units with Overwhelm. We got Raider, Iron Ballista, Wolf Rider, Darius, Ancient Yeti, Captain Farron, even Draven if he levels. So you have a lot of damage with Overwhelm. You send big attacks. You get a little bit of damage through early. You buff your units with Omen Hawk. You use Decisive Maneuver to get a massive damage push through with your Overwhelm units. You play Ancient Yetis early, and then to finish off, you use Battle Fury as a surprise 8 damage, or you use Captain Farron with 3 Decimates. There's also a full deck breakdown of this one. This is really just about overwhelming your opponent with massive amounts of damage. So, overall, these 3 decks, pretty solid matchups into Go Hard. Go Hard has very weak attackers, very low attack units, low power units, so you can get a lot of damage through with Fearsome. On top of that, Overwhelm is brutal. They have a lot of chump blockers, but those chump blockers don't have high health, so Overwhelm damage gets through lots of damage. And then Spell Shield helps avoid some of the nonsense when you're using the Invoke with Atrocity, as well as just some decent obliterates and target removal for TF. So my lineup is very much targeting Go Hard. I think Go Hard's going to be an extremely popular deck today. So it targets that pretty well. They're all pretty good against ramp as well. Fearsomes can really overwhelm ramp early. Overwhelm can get a win in earlier than that. And Invoke with Atrocity can go neck and neck with a ramp deck at the end of the game. So pretty good into that. What I'm not good into, Fiora and discard aggro. So number 1, I will ban Fiora first, and discard aggro will be my secondary ban if they don't have that. Beyond that, I would probably ban like an Ash Sedge just because they can give some problems to some Fearsome units and things like that, because Icevale Archer can just really shut down Fearsome decks and hurts the Overwhelm deck as well. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to ban Fiora first. I'm going to ban discard aggro second. And then, if they don't have those, we'll go from there. I'm not super worried about Go Hard. I'm not super worried about ramp and things. And now when I put these videos up, if I lose to those things, that's on me. But that's where my lineup's at. That's what I'm trying to target. That's what I'm going. As I said, guys, this is going to be my first tournament here. I haven't done a lot of the tournaments in the scene, the in-house tournaments, but this is what I'm doing for the first seasonal tournament that Legends of Runeterra is offering in the NA server. So very excited to compete, and let's keep it sportsman-like. Let's not act very egotistical here. We have a lot of people who are really playing for money and really want to do this, but at the end of the day, we can't scream at the devs because we don't like the format. We can't, kick and scream because we lost the game because we got top decked. We're playing a game of chance. We're playing a card game. It happens to the best of us. So everyone, enjoy the time, enjoy the ability to compete from the safety of your house during these crazy COVID times, and just enjoy this awesome game that we have here. That's my message. Until next time, peace.